Welcome to The Vault, a mini-series within the Tales of the Lost universe that ventures into secrets hidden inside the archives of the Library of Congress. In this next batch of episodes, we will be exploring the many cancelled American anime adaptations created by Renaissance Atlantic and Bandai Entertainment, rejected pilots and TV treatments forever lost in the archives. Until now, each new episode covers a new discovery. What piece of lost media might turn up next? Follow us as we dive into the depths of the vault. Tonight's episode is best served hot.
Early on in my investigation into Renaissance Atlantic, I had learned that any IP that had been housed by Toei Animation and Bandai in the early 90s were in talks to potentially have their own American adaptations. During that time in North America, much of their children's programming was heavily driven by toy sales. Many of our favorite beloved children's shows of the 80s and 90s wouldn't have had much of a fighting chance at long syndication if not for the earning potential generated from their accompanying toy lines. Because of this factor, executives were hesitant to dub international anime outright and explored their options on adapting the series that they believed would best cater to their audience, with enough potential to make it the perfect candidate ripe for the picking. After the massive success of the Power Rangers, a Japanese import and joint venture between Renaissance Atlantic, Bandai, and Saban Entertainment, which generated over $5 billion in toy sales, Frank Ward was tasked with trying to find the next Japanese franchise that would both yield a strong financial return in toys, whilst also having that likable formula that could entice their target demographic. The 80s and 90s saw an influx of Saturday morning celebrity cartoons. The hopes of the TV executives was to generate more sales through the likeness and popularity of said celebrity at the time. A lot of these animated shorts, also referenced to as celebrity tunes, wound up being poorly produced, formulaic with their cookie-cutter stories, containing heaps of cheesy dialogue, often mixing in animation with live-action clips of the actual celebrities from athletes to big-name actors, despite many of these actors not actually voicing their characters in their respective roles. Some notable celebrities to have undergone the celebrity tune treatment were MC Hammer, New Kids on the Block, Mr. T, Hulk Hogan, and even Michael Jordan. Despite the quality of shows themselves, attaching the cartoons to a celebrity figure, especially ones that resonated with young fans, had utmost potential for cross-marketing to shill out products like toys, clothing, and breakfast cereal. Though this trend seemed to die down quite a bit toward the later end of the 90s, celebrity tunes, not to be mistaken for cartoon film adaptations, continued to be produced well into the early 2000s with shows like Mary-Kate and Ashley in Action, Jackie Chan Adventures, and Jacques Cousteau's Ocean Tales. These cartoons, I found, were a lot more earnest, all with more improved stories and much more of a focus on action, adventure, and entertainment, as opposed to a simple formula with a shoehorned message made to drive toy sales. Perhaps one of the most bizarre adaptations I had seen from The Vault was a submission made in 1999 that was an attempt at adapting the popular 1993 Japanese anime Slam Dunk into its own American animation, but it quickly spiraled into an unrecognizable hybrid of different elements that had been popular in American programming during that time. In 1998, Frank Ward had concocted a formula he believed had the most potential to generate sales through using the celebrity tune format in conjunction with the not yet localized anime still owned by Toei. A bizarre Frankenstein creation was spliced together, branching off of the original basketball concept, starring the popular American basketball player Tracy McGrady, also known as TMAC, acting as the central character. TMAC Hurricane, a crime-fighting hero who utilized high-tech mech gadgets with futuristic car technology. These futuristic cars were incredibly detailed in design and seemed to draw much inspiration from popular mecha anime. This is because all of the concept art had been sketched up in 1998 by the Japanese company PLEX, the same design team responsible for much of Bandai's toy designs in the last 30 years. This mass repurposing repurposing of the series was more than likely in an effort to drive toy sales for the series by having the focus shift from sports to tech and gadgets. This resulting mismatch sadly retained none of the original elements of the 1993 series, aside from being centered around a basketball star. And funnily enough, even the character TMAC Hurricane would only end up retaining the name and likeness to his real-life counterpart, and was completely stripped of having a career in the sports industry. TMAC had been molded into more of a G.I. Joe, James Bond type of figure, and the only other relation to the world of basketball was in reference to another character based on retired basketball coach Jim Calhoun, now known as Crew Chief Calhoun in the TMAC Hurricane show Bible. This transformation of concept into an entirely new series is quite similar to the evolution of Team Angel, an adaptation of Sailor Moon we covered in a previous episode. Thankfully, Slam Dunk ultimately received an English dub and was released in March of 2005, and the TMAC Hurricane concept never came to be. But we're still left with interesting remnants of the show Bible, offering us further insights into the series, along with a handful of lost concept art courtesy of PLEX Animation. It's an interesting look at the amount of work that truly goes into television pitches, regardless of if they get selected for full syndication. So, without further delay, here is the complete reading of the TMAC Hurricane show Bible, along with the accompanying toy prototypes and concept art provided by PLEX.
He's one brave, strong, fast, off-the-chart IQ, in-your-face, smack-attacking, on-the-edge, daring dude with an attitude. Smarter than you, richer than you, and pretty too. Meet TMAC Hurricane, the world's first black superhero. Forget Batman. Bats are just some kind of rat. Rats with wings are definitely not cool. And forget Superman. What kind of dude hangs in a cape? And what's going on with the little blue tights and disco boots? TMAC Hurricane is the greatest the world has ever seen, and he'll make sure you don't forget it. Nothing modest about TMAC. Some say he's a little bit Ali, a little Mr. T, some 007, beyond Jordan-esque, with a mind that can run circles around Bill Gates. Mr. Hurricane would agree with all that, then tell you those guys are all rookies. TMAC lives and works in an enormous mansion, bristling with security, on the highest peak overlooking the city. Attached to the home is an incredible, state-of-the-art R&D facility where, assisted by his crew chief, he develops his amazing array of vehicles and weapons. He can fly anything, drive anything, and is technically always a step ahead of everyone else. One of his chief interests is weaponry, vehicle platforms for advanced weapons, and awesome gadgets of all sorts, a pen that transforms to a laser weapon, etc. Knowing the government agencies were always slow, lagging behind the technology curve, and anyway believing he was smarter than the experts, he decided to provide the leadership for advanced weapons, planes, vehicles, tanks, nautical systems, and so on. Our story is set in the intermediate future where semi-anarchy prevails. Normal forces for law and order, police, government, armies, etc., are no longer able to fully protect innocent citizens. Too much technology is available to the legions of evil everywhere. The TMAC Hurricane has stepped into the breach. He will always have a vehicle or weapon and a brilliant plan to save the day. For all his flamboyance and bravado, Mr. Hurricane has a very old-fashioned sense of ethics. He's a champion of ordinary, hard-working people, a protector of the powerless but decent, God-fearing folks everywhere. Like some latter-day frontier marshal, he brings swift justice on the side of the innocent. His enemies are the bullies, the tyrants, the fat cats, the predators, the mindless bureaucrats who prey on the helpless. But our man is a maverick who does not suffer fools gladly, even if they happen to work for the police, the FBI, or the government. He says what he thinks, and does what he has to regardless of regulations. The stuffy little men from the bureaucracy, big hat and no cattle, is what TMAC says to them, are forever trying to tell him what he can't do, or what the rules are. Naturally, he does it his way, always gets results, hence annoying the captains, the generals, the mayor, etc., etc. So the police, the military, the lawyers, the technocrats, and so on need TMAC, but they also resent him for getting up their noses. But the common folk love him. On the land, on the sea, or in the air, he is the man, a superstar. Just some of the situations we'll encounter are a mad dictator with a stolen nuclear weapon, paramilitary fanatics terrorize a town, terrorists hijack a passenger plane, a Soviet submarine falls into the hands of a lunatic, a notorious criminal is released because his lawyer outsmarts the district attorney, but they won't outsmart TMAC. In every case, the usual forces of law and order are helpless. In steps TMAC Hurricane. When he's not dealing with evil, TMAC is doing what he calls hobbies: skydiving in thunderstorms, skiing Mount Everest, surfing 10-story waves, setting records for land speed, breaking deep-sea diving records, performing death-defying stunts in his jet. Each episode will show one of his hair-raising hobbies, and then an adventure against the evil du jour, showcasing vehicles, weapons, and/or gadgets. There are no recurring bad guys, as each episode deals with a new threat. TMAC has only one main helper, his crew chief Calhoun. Calhoun is basically an old-fashioned go-for-grease monkey who worries about everything. He's always fussing at TMAC to be cautious, and acts as the straight man for TMAC's jokes. The only other regular is Harold Bluetooth, TMAC's faithful Great Dane, who is a combination of Lassie and Trigger. Born dirt poor to hard-working parents, he was orphaned at the age of 4. At the state orphanage, early IQ tests, which had to be repeated because nobody believed them, showed he was beyond a genius. Unmeasurable, they said. Luckily, he was taken under the wing of the kindly orphanage doctor, who became a mentor and protector. A phenomenon like this was unknown to medical research, so the state university assumed the responsibility for educating TMAC and overseeing his development. He read books in minutes, memorized information like a high-speed computer. Scientists and educators had never seen the likes of this boy. A math and science phenomenon. His interest in cars led to his first breakthrough invention, the dynamic fuel cell. Licensing this technology to every car manufacturer in the world made TMAC a multi-billionaire by the age of 24.
Thank you for dining with us. One more piece of the puzzle remains. Can you take a guess? If you would like to support this little series, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Ta-ta for now.